Here is a list of 35 different forms of government. Which one do you think we have in the USA? And write your opinion in the comments section. 1. Absolute monarchy, a traditional and historical system where the monarch exercises ultimate governing authority as head of state and head of government. Many nations of Europe during the Middle Ages were absolute monarchies. Modern examples include mainly Islamic countries such as Saudi Arabia and Oman. 2. Adhocracy, rule by government based on relatively disorganized principles and institutions, as compared to a bureaucracy, its exact opposite. 3. Anarchy, a condition of lawlessness or political disorder brought about by the absence of governmental authority. 4. Authoritarian, rule by authoritarian government is identified in societies where a specific set of people possesses the authority of the state, in a republic or union. It is a political system controlled by unelected rulers who usually permit some degree of individual freedom. 5. Autocracy, power resides in the hands of one single person. That person may be an absolute monarch or a dictator. The Roman Republic made dictators to lead during times of war. They only held power for a small time. In modern times, an autocrat's rule is that not stopped by any rules of law, constitutions, or other social or political institutions. After World War II, many governments in Latin America, Asia, and Africa were ruled by autocratic governments. Examples are Joseph Stalin, Idi Amin, Muammar Gaddafi, Adolf Hitler, and Gamal Abdul Nasser. 6. Bankocracy, rule by banks, a system of governance with excessive power or influence of banks and other financial authorities on public policy making. It can also refer to a form of government where financial institutions rule society. 7. Capitalism, a social economic system in which owners of capital, machines, tools, factories, etc., arrange for workers to use that capital in exchange for payment. The capital owners are entitled to the products of the workers' labor, and many sell them, use them, or otherwise do with them as they see fit. 8. Constitutional monarchy. The monarch's powers are limited by law or by a formal constitution, usually assigning them to those of the head of state. Many modern developed countries, including the United Kingdom, Norway, Netherlands, Australia, Canada, and Japan, are constitutional monarchy systems. 9. Communism, a system of government in which the state plans and controls the economy and a single, often authoritarian, party holds power. State controls are imposed with the elimination of private ownership of property or capital, while claiming to make progress toward a higher social order in which all goods are equally shared by the people. Example, a classless society. 10. Corporatocracy, rule by corporations, a system of governance where an economic and political system is controlled by corporations or corporate interests. Its use is generally pejorative. Examples include company rule in India and business voters for the City of London Corporation. 11. Democracy is a form of government in which the supreme power is retained by the people, but which is usually exercised indirectly through a system of representation and delegated authority, periodically renewed. 12. Democratic Republic. A republic form of government where the country is considered a public matter. Latin, re publica. Not a private concern or property of rulers. Third world, and where the offices of state are subsequently directly or indirectly elected or appointed rather than inherited, where all eligible citizens have an equal say in the local and national decisions that affect their lives. 13. Dictatorship is a form of government in which a ruler or small clique wield absolute power, not restricted by constitution or laws. 14. Direct democracy. Variant of democracy, government in which the people represent themselves and vote directly for new laws and public policy. 15. Ecclesiastical is a government administered by a church. 16. Electocracy. An electocracy is a political system where citizens are able to vote for their government but cannot participate directly in governmental decision-making, and where the government does not share any power. 17. Federal Republic is a state in which the powers of a central government are restricted and in which the component parts, states, colonies, or provinces retain a degree of self-government. Ultimate sovereign power rests with the voters who choose their governmental representatives. 18. Feudalism, a social economic system of land ownership and duties. Under feudalism, all the land in a kingdom was the king's. However, the king would give some of the land to the lords or nobles who fought for him. These presents of land were called manors. Then the nobles gave some of their land to vassals. The vassals then had to do duties for the nobles. The lands of vassals were called fiefs. 19. Kakistocracy, rule by the stupid, a system of governance where the worst or least qualified citizens govern or dictate policies. Due to human nature being inherently flawed, it has been suggested that every government which has ever existed has been a prime example of kakistocracy. 20. Kleptocracy, mafia state, ruled by thieves, a system of governance where its officials and the ruling class in general pursue personal wealth and political power at the expense of wider population. In strict terms, kleptocracy is not a form of government, but a characteristic of a government engaged in such behavior. Examples include Mexico as being considered a narco-kleptocracy, since its democratic government is perceived by the corrupted, by those who profit from trade in illegal drugs smuggled into the United States. 21. Liberal democracy, a form of government in which representative democracy operates under the principle of liberalism. It is characterized by the fair, free, and competitive elections between multiple distinct political parties, a separation of power into different branches of government, the rule of law in everyday life as part of an open society, and the protection of human rights and civil liberties for all persons. Liberal democracies often draw upon a constitution to delineate the powers of government and enshrine the social contract. 22. Maoism, the theory and practice of Marxism-Leninism developed in China by Mao Zedong, Mao Zedong, which states that a continuous revolution is necessary if the leaders of a communist state are to keep in touch with the people. '23. Marxism, the political, economic and social principles espoused by 19th century economist Karl Marx. He viewed the struggle of workers as a progression of historical forces that would proceed from a class struggle of the proletariat workers exploited by capitalists, business owners, to a socialist dictatorship of the proletariat, to finally a classless society, communism. 24. Monarchy, a government in which the supreme power is lodged in the hands of a monarch, who reigns over a state or territory, usually for life and by hereditary right. The monarch may be either a sole absolute ruler or a sovereign, such as a king, queen or prince, with constitutionally limited authority. 25. Nepotocracy, rule by nephews, favoritism granted to relatives regardless of merit. A system of governance in which importance is given to the relatives of those already in power, like a nephew, where the word comes from. In such government, even if the relatives are unqualified, they are given positions of authority just because they know someone who already has authority. 26. Ochlocracy, a system of governance where mob rule is government by mob or a mass of people, or the intimidation of legitimate authorities. Ochlocratic governments are often a democracy spoiled by demagoguery, tyranny of the majority, and the rule of passion over reason. Such governments can be as oppressive as autocratic tyrants. 27. Oligarchy, a government in which control is exercised by a small group of individuals whose authority generally is based on wealth or power. Plutocracy, rule by the wealthy, a system wherein governance is indebted to, dependent upon, or heavily influenced by the desire of the rich. Plutocracy influence can alter any form of government. For instance, in a republic, if a significant number of elected representative positions are dependent upon financial support from wealthy sources, then it is a plutocratic republic. Republic, a representative democracy in which the people's elected deputies, representatives, not the people themselves, vote on legislation. 30. Social democracy. Social democracy argues that all citizens should be legally entitled to certain social rights. These are made up of universal access to public services such as education, healthcare, workers, compensation, public transportation, and other services including childcare and care for the elderly. Socialism, a government in which the means of planning, producing and distributing goods is controlled by a central government that theoretically seeks a more just and equitable distribution of property and labor. In actuality, most socialist governments have ended up being no more than dictatorships over workers by a ruling elite. 32. Technocracy, ruled by the educated and or technical experts, a system of governance where people who are skilled or proficient govern in their respective areas of expertise. In technology, would be in control over decision making. Doctors, engineers, scientists, professionals, and technologists who have knowledge, expertise, or skills would compose the governing body, instead of politicians, businessmen, and economists. In a technocracy, decision makers would be selected based upon how knowledgeable and skillful they are in their field. Theocracy, ruled by a religious elite, a system of governance composed of religious institutions in which the state and the church are traditionally and or constitutionally the same entity. Citizens who are clergy have the right to govern. The Vatican, Pope, the Tibetan government, Dalai Lama, and Islamic states as historically considered theocracies. 34. Democracy, a system of governance ruled by honorable citizens and property owners. Socrates defines a democracy as a government ruled by people who love, honor, and are selected according to the degree of honor they hold in society. European feudalism and post-revolutionary America are historical examples of this type. The city-state of Sparta provided another real-world model for this form of government. 35. Totalitarian democracy. Variant of democracy refers to a system of government in which lawfully elected representatives maintain the integrity of a nation, state, whose citizens, while granted the right to vote, have little or no participation in the decision-making process over the government.